My wife wants everything her way in our open marriage, while I'm stuck waiting for her to overcome her jealousy. Last summer, while on vacation, my wife, Didi 27 female, and I, 29 male, were approached by another couple while on a cruise. We had dinner and drinks with them for a couple of days and had some interesting conversations about their open relationship. They floated several options to us, a three-way, soft or hard swap, but in the end, we both weren't comfortable with the idea, but it planted the seed. We researched and talked till we finally felt ready to start exploring. At first it was fun going through the apps and looking at different profiles. We both saw the responses the two of us were getting and we laughed at some and cringed at others. I learned from watching the ones that caught my wife's eye and tweaked my profiles to emulate those, and surprisingly it did help my responses. This went on for several weeks and she finally had a short list and sent out 4 responses. All 4 answered quickly and she began texting and talking and finally set up her first date. We both had butterflies when she left and they met for dinner. Per our protocols, she sent me his picture and made sure his ID matched the name he had given her. I did a quick search and sent her a thumbs up and settled in and started a movie. She sent a check-in through our tracking app that she was at his house with an emoji that meant she felt safe. A few hours later I got a notice she was mobile and a text she was on her way home. She came home bouncing and giggling through the front door. She had brought me a pastry home, and while I ate that she showered, and then I got to experience reclamation lovemaking with her, and she brought with it some awesome energy and passion. We talked the next morning, both of us excited about last night. We had made plans for a date night for the two of us the following night after her date and had a wonderful night. The following week she met guy number 2 for a short coffee date after work and they hit it off and made plans for a date the following week. Our agreement in the beginning was a 1 date per week limit, at her request. She had a second date with guy number 1 the same week, but I said the coffee date shouldn't count as a date since it was basically a meet and greet. The second date with guy number 1 went well and I got another dose of emotional energy afterward. After her second date, I got an invite from someone I had been talking with and we set a date to have drinks and see where things led us from there. I was excited, but Didi was struggling a little as I got ready to leave. We hugged it out and I offered to stay if she wanted me to, but she said she needed to push through it and would be alright. I met Kathy and per protocol sent Didi a picture and began talking with Kathy. We were getting along great and she suggested going somewhere a little more quiet. I was kind of waiting for a response from Didi and sent a question mark, which was followed by a thumbs up from Didi. Kathy and I stopped at a bakery and then went to her house and I checked in again. We cuddled for a while and made out on her couch. Kathy said she didn't want to make love on the first date, which I respected. However, later she initiated third base, which became mutual, and it ended in the shower together. As I got dressed to leave, Kathy said we had unfinished business and wanted to know when we could see each other again. I told her about my weekly limit and that sometime next week would be lovely, and she said to call her and we will plan on dinner in. I came home to find Didi in tears and it looked like she had been crying for quite some time. She thought she could handle it, but said she just went downhill the whole night. I did everything I could to comfort and reassure her. She finally settled down and just cuddled until we went to sleep. The next day she was withdrawn and moped around the house. I finally got her to open up and talk about it. She felt like she needed some more time to be okay with sharing me and asked if we could slow down. I said I would and asked if she wanted to talk to someone or if both of us should see a counselor together. She said she would try to see a therapist and we could go from there. The next day I am doing some chores outside and when I came in I heard Didi talking on the phone and making plans for next Thursday. When she got off the phone I asked her who she was talking to and she acted startled, and started talking about taking the cars down and getting them washed today. I asked her what was going on next Friday and she said she had a date with guy number 2. I said I thought we were going to slow down and work on some things first, and her answer was, we had already planned our date last week when we had coffee and she felt bad about canceling on him. So I asked her if I was the only one not allowed to date because of her feelings while she got to keep dating other people. After some back and forth she said it wasn't fair to guy number 2 because he had already made plans, so I picked up my phone and started texting. When I was done Didi asked me what was I doing. I said I was confirming a date with Kathy for next Friday and got a text alert just as I said that. Wednesday morning before we left for work, Didi came to me asking to please cancel my date with Kathy until she could get in and talk with her therapist. I asked for her phone and started composing a text message to guy number 2. I'm sorry, but I have closed my open marriage with my husband until I can work through some of my issues. I hope you understand how sorry I am and forgive me for the short notice, but my marriage is the most important thing to me right now. I handed the phone back to her to read and said if you hit send I will cancel my date, and then you can copy it and send it to guy number 1 as well. She looked like I had just run over her dog with the car. She said I was being mean and didn't care about her feelings. I asked her if that message wasn't the same thing she wanted me to send to Kathy. I said it was her choice, but to make it quick, I told her I had agreed to slow things down, but I expected that it would be fair and she would do the same. Maybe we need to just close and start over, or maybe just stay closed if this is how she is going to handle issues when they come up. I don't think it's fair for her to close my side when I did nothing wrong. Quick update, so Didi sent the message I wrote with an addition. Due to a crisis I had after my husband's first date. Guy number 1 was gracious and understood, and guy number 2 was very rude and blocked her afterward. She showed me her phone to confirm it. She has an appointment with her therapist on Monday morning, but our couple's therapist can't see us for 10 days. Her therapist did talk with her on the phone for 20 minutes today. Didi has been listening to podcasts or had a nose in a book since last weekend. We both kind of agree instead of keeping busy and distracted she just sat and let it overwhelm her. Monday night after her session she wants to sit down and talk with me about reopening, starting with a date with Kathy and me that Friday if she feels ready. We both agreed to stay in contact with guy number 1 and Kathy. Guy number 2 and everyone else will be no contact for now. This Friday is now a date night out together, and on Saturday we resume our quest for a puppy. Update, She went to her therapist and she had a plan to go out with a girlfriend and keep herself busy instead of sitting at home and circling the drain thinking about my date. I went on the next date and came home before she did, and when she got home I got a hug, but that was about it. But at least she wasn't crying and it was some improvement. Friday morning she woke up whining about my third date, wanting to know if I would postpone it. I said it would be unfair to cancel my date with Kathy on such short notice, but if she felt that way we could just chalk this up to a failed experiment and go back to monogamy. We ate lunch together later and she said she felt better about it and wanted me to go ahead with my date. I had a great time and came home just bouncing. But when I came home I saw 2 wine bottles almost empty on the kitchen counter and Dee curled up on the couch intoxicated. I didn't get a warm welcome home. She was short, sarcastic, and mean. I said that's it, this isn't going to work out and she could consider our marriage closed again, and I went to bed. Saturday morning I woke up disappointed and slightly angry about the whole situation. I got a hungover Dee out of bed and said we needed to have a serious talk. I waited till she was on her second cup of coffee before I got started. Our deal was I would go on a couple of dates and if she was fine she could start dating again. If she wasn't fine we would close for 6 months to give her time to exercise her demons. And then I would start dating, and if things went well she could then start dating again herself. I told her I was through. I didn't want to come home after a date and have to deal with all this drama again. I said that's not what you had to deal with when you came home and it just wasn't fair. She said she was sorry for what she said last night. She knows she acted awful toward me and kept saying how sorry she was. I reminded her what we agreed upon and that she should send a last message to anyone she was still talking to before she blocked them and deleted all her dating profiles. She wants to stay in contact with a couple of them since they have become friends, but I said they would be a distraction and temptation that wouldn't be healthy. I told her we could have one more couple sessions for closure and she could keep seeing her individual therapist or get a new one if she thought that would help, and maybe in the fall we could revisit this again. She begged for another chance, but I said I couldn't take the emotional roller coaster anymore and she just needed more time to sort through and deal with her feelings before we opened up again. She said I was lucky to find someone like Kathy whom I connected with so fast and was afraid it might take a long time for me to find somebody like that when we tried again. Add on. I wrote half of this last night and the rest this morning. When I reread it there was a lot of anger last night. I have tried the last few weeks to be supportive and showered Dee with extra love and attention to help her get through this. For now, we are closed and I feel some resentment and I am sure Dee may as well, and we will address that. Thanks if you made it this far.